helicopter crew arrived Tuesday afternoon, which will be used to attack what officials are calling the Grassy Knob Fire. John Titron is the incident commander for the Shawnee Forest Service. He toured the fire from the air Tuesday and realized it is larger than he first thought. Leaves crackle as the fire spreads. Titron says the Grassy Knob fire is man-made. They believe it started on private property near Inspiration Point. The landscape and dry conditions make it hard to fight.
We had no control under what weather this started under. It's in very steep terrain, very heavy fuels, kind of the most extreme for southern Illinois here.
To make matters worse, winds are pushing the Grassy Knob fire north. Little rain in the past few months has left leaves and trees dry and brittle.
Crews right now are trying to make sure they keep this fire managed. You can see the brush here burning. And the big concern though right now is that it could catch some of the dead trees left over from the May 8th storm and then cause that fire to jump across this road.
They're prepping and using chainsaws and removing a lot of the heavy fuels next to the road to get it ready for the fire as it approaches.
Crews want to keep the fire from jumping the road because the other side is a protected wilderness reserve. Officials are not allowed to use any mechanical equipment or vehicles in that area. Right now, the fire is not in the trees, it's only spreading at ground level. Titron says that's where he wants to keep it. In Jackson County, Jeff Stensland, News 3.
Here in Brookport, they're measuring progress in inches. The fact that I'm standing on this step and it's not completely submerged in water is a good sign.
Has the water been down? Has the water went down yet?
I thought the water would have been in the house by this morning. So I was just real grateful that it wasn't when I saw it this morning when I got over here.
Cindy Dunavant and her daughter Emily credit volunteers for the wall of sandbags around their home. It's keeping the waist-deep water in the yard.
Just thank you to everyone that's been helping. We couldn't do it without you guys.
Neighbors, city workers, and high school kids made up the teams that are going house to house, adding sandbags to the now watery landscape. What does the backyard usually look like?
Well, it's solid green. Flower beds are gone.
Come on, boys.
Only a dozen or so homes are affected by flooding. Emergency management officials expect the water to continue to recede.
Things change hour by hour, but based on the latest projections, we anticipate the river to start falling maybe this evening and falling throughout the weekend.
In the meantime, this pump is helping to ensure that the wastewater lagoon doesn't overflow and create a health problem for the rest of the town. That pump is just over the other side of the levee. It's sending the water out, and Brookport residents hope it stays out. In Massac County, Dana J, News 3.
When I came up, you couldn't see anything. It was just a wall of black smoke.
Downtown Sesser was overtaken by a billowy haze of heat and ash on Saturday as firefighters from 6 local stations used tower trucks, hand lines, and all other resources they had to put out one of the worst blazes they've seen.
Guys are just trying to attack it, but the walls are beginning to mow, and we can't really get in very, very close to do anything with it. Afraid the walls won't collapse. A couple of them have collapsed, so we're going to be here quite a while trying to put this out.
Sesser Fire Chief Cletus McBride says this 3-building antique shop is especially difficult because the structure has an old flat tar roof.
It's hard to put out, and when they once get on fire and fall in, then it's harder than ever to put out because they cover up stuff below it, and it makes it that much harder.
Which is disheartening news for Mary Moorfield, whose son and grandson were working to fight the blaze.
I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm scared for them. I'm scared they'll overheat. I'm scared they get about too many fumes in the smoke. It's a terrible thing. And when you watch your child, you don't know what's going to happen. I'm afraid these walls are going to fall in. It's scary.
Meanwhile, the vintage antique business and almost everything with it is considered a total loss.
And the people that own it, they're in wheelchairs and they run a little antique shop. And their business is gone. They have nothing now.
Which Moorfield says is another eyesore in her community.
But it's just going to be another hole in our town, and we've got so many holes already.
In Sesser, Andy Waterman, News 3.
Students at the Cairo schools got a gift from Mother Nature on Thursday in the form of an early dismissal. Snow sent the kids home at 12:15. But the time off really isn't a break for everyone. Superintendent Leota Swopes explains it takes a lot of careful planning.
Once school starts, it becomes more difficult to close school because now we have to contact parents because we just can't call school off and then turn the children loose.
That means contacting every child's parents, about 425 phone calls in all. If a parent can't be reached, a teacher stays at school with the student until someone can come get them. Swopes prefers a snow day to an early dismissal. He works with the school board president and the busing company to make the call.
Since most of our students are transported, it's whether or not the buses can get back and forth along the side streets. The main thoroughfares are usually pretty safe.
The decision to close school for a snow day or let out early because of the weather does involve a little bit of math. The state requires that students spend 176 days in school each year. They have to be in the classroom for at least 3 hours a day in order for it to count. Because the district has 5 emergency days built into its calendar, Swopes insists the extra time off doesn't come with an extra price tag. So far this school year, Cairo schools haven't had a snow day.
It's not a great financial cost. There's so many of those things are already in place, contracts with bus companies, and then teachers, of course, their salaries are paid for already.
Overall, Swopes says safety for students and staff is always the top concern. In Alexander County, Emily Finnegan, News 3.